Welcome to my studio today, and first of all I have to say I owe you an apology. I started blocking in my African daisies here and realized that I wanted to do a video to show you how I paint these. So I have blocked them in with mixtures of cadmium red, deep, plus alizarin crimson, that's the darkest color here. Then I also have cadmium red deep, just pure cadmium red deep. And then I have some cadmium red light. This will be the highlights on the red blossoms. So I get my flower color up there first. And now I'm going to start working the leaves in and around those. Now the flowers behind these are my bluebonnets, and I have painted those with mixtures of cobalt blue plus white for my flowers, and the leaves are phthalo blue plus cadmium orange plus white. Now on these flowers I want the leaves to be brighter so they come forward. So these are mixtures of phthalo blue plus lemon yellow, so it makes a brighter green. This is almost a Christmassy look combination here, this red and this green. And then I've also got, this is just phthalo blue plus some liquid. And I just work my greens in and around the masses of color of red. I'll come back and add the details of the flowers in there. Now they kind of go behind. This rock is in front of the flowers, so they go in behind that rock. And I have these bright red flowers here because they come forward then of my burgundy poppies. You can just see a little bit of those right at the top of the frame of the video. But I block this color in using my bright brush. Go to a little bit smaller one here. Work in. It's a square tipped brush. I can use the flat edge to make cover broader areas, or I can use the corner to get into tighter areas, make finer brush strokes. But I want this green to be bright. I want the red to be bright because I want this to come forward. Now my rocks here, I want them actually to come here. This is a mixture of my mud, which is 2 parts of ultramarine blue plus 1 part of alizarin crimson, and I've added a little bit of cadmium orange into that. That's that big rock in behind those flowers. So the flowers are growing in between these rocks. Look at all that nice water. It's been a wet spring. The brook or little stream is just flowing very happily because there's been lots of spring rains, so the water is just rushing down that brook. In the summertime this probably will just be solid rocks and no water once we start getting into our dry summers. But in the springtime with lots of rain, these little brooks, they call them dry washes, but in the springtime they're just filled with water and it's just bubbling and it's just so pleasant. And I've got a few brush strokes of just phthalo blue plus white. Again, that adds coolness into my leaves. These are back behind that rock. I want to get all the surface covered. I don't want any little white spots where the texture of the canvas shows through. The sun's coming in from the left, and so I want it to land on these flowers. I want that nice pop of bright color because your eyes follow that sun into the painting, and then the dark here of the posts will just stop that light. You want an upright on the side of your painting where the light comes in, then that upright stops it, and it throws your eye back into the painting. So you come through and you hit those posts and follow up the posts to the barn. These will be a nice bright spot for your, to add interest here. Give you something to land on when your eye comes through the painting. You're looking through it. And also the sunlight will be hitting this water, it'll be glistening as it goes over the rocks. And then the front of the painting will be more in shadow. I'm going to add a flower in there. Let me get the rest of this dark in, some leaves. And they just, this bush is of flowers, these African daisies are projecting out over the rocks. And I'm going to add, well, let me get my leaves all covered. To get the white all covered. I want plenty of texture. I add that paint on pretty heavy. I get pretty big glob on my brush. It's good to have lots of texture there. Just adds interest and okay. Now this is more challenging, and this takes some time to learn to do, but I'm going to paint some flowers over on top of the green. I have to be very, very careful and just lay my paint gently on top of it, because see how my brush picks up that green? So I have to be very careful. I don't want my reds to get muddied, because that green will just make the reds turn brown. So I'm continually wiping my brush. And I add the brush strokes with the petals. So I do a lot of wiping. Go through a lot of tissue. Again, you can see how I pick up that green. I have to be very, very careful. And this is a technique that I've learned over the years, and just it takes a little while to have a light enough touch to just lay that paint on the canvas. But if you're trying to do it, just keep on trying, because you'll get the hang of it. And this is cadmium red light that I'm using. You can see how I use the corner of my brush to lay those strokes on. These are going to be a little bit darker. I'm going to let a little light hit these petals right there, because it comes and touches the rock there too. This I don't like. Okay, I can take a little green here and reshape that flower. My brush out after getting that much green in it. It's a constant working back and forth. I'm going to get these flowers done here, and then I'll show you how I put the centers in. I won't paint the whole thing because it just takes too long. I found if most people, if my video is too long, they watch for a few minutes and then they give up and go to something else. And always feel free to ask questions. I really appreciate you watching my YouTube videos, and I do this 2 reasons. I do this when I'm doing a commission. My collectors can follow along on their painting as if they were sitting right in my studio. And then I also do it for artists. God has so blessed me with the opportunity to just show His beauty on canvas. And I just feel, and we've had so many artists help Jack and I over the years, teaching us and showing us tips. And we just have always felt that it's our mission, or actually our ministry, to help other artists. So I have a blog where I show the complete step-by-step process of this painting. And the link is in the description below. If you'll go to that, it will take you to the very first post in this painting. And it's painted on a gallery wrap canvas with the painting going around onto the sides. So I had to prepare the canvas in a special way. And so that's the very first post on this painting. I show how I prepare the canvas. And if you want to move through the blog, just click on, there's a little title in the upper right and the upper left. If you click on the one in the upper right, it will take you to the next post in this blog. If you click on the title in the upper left, you can go back. So please do visit my blog. You can also subscribe to my blog, and you'll get an email every time I make a new post. So let's see, I'm doing this, yeah, I have to remember how to do these centers. I first start with a mixture, this is my mud, and I make a dark center. It's going to be a 3-step process on this. And make a dark center on these. Again, I'm not going to do all of them. I'm just going to do a few so you can see how this is done, and then I'll do the rest of the flowers in the exact same way. I just lay that on the red that I've put in. Again, I keep wiping my brush. Okay, now I take some cadmium yellow medium, and let me get that mixed out here. I didn't have enough out. This is, okay, we're going to do cadmium yellow medium. That out on my palette. Okay, now I take a smaller brush, and in that large center, I make a yellow dot. And sometimes it's hard to get that paint to stick. And I just lay it on there. I don't dig into it, I just kind of lightly lay the paint on there. I want the black to show all the way around the yellow. That one didn't do as well. So I can also take a little bit of my black and make that dark go all the way around. I just love these African daisies. We bought some and had them growing in our garden one year. I haven't seen any in the nurseries around here recently, but they were so pretty in the garden. And they're an annual, so they didn't come back the next year, or at least they were in my garden. But again, I make that yellow center within the dark center. I'll have to go back on a few of those and let the dark go all the way around. Okay, So I've got those. Now with a smaller brush, this is called a round, and this is a number 4 round. You can see it just comes to a nice point. So I can use this then to dip in my mud. And fix a few of these little centers. And now I'm going to add a black dot within the yellow dot. And this finishes out our centers on the African daisy. It's just a nice little detail, and this extra detail also helps make these come forward. The more detail you have, moves things forward. If things are less detailed, they go back. So I like having this extra detail of this in these centers. Just helps to bring these forward, helps to give the feeling of depth in the painting. Oops, got too much paint on my brush. Now I got too much black in there, so I can come back with my yellow and go around that. Now that flower is more sideways, so you don't see the black all the way around the center. You'll just see it on this side. And so this is how I make these centers on the African daisies. Again, please feel free to ask questions in the comments section. And there we go. So you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and thank you again for watching my YouTube videos.